Hey guys, what's good? Welcome to Order of Opinion. I'm your host Tim. This is my co-host Anthony.
What's good, guys?
For those of you returning or just tuning in, we are going over our ranking of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the shittiest to the greatest. Order of Opinion. So, number 12.
What do you got?
I had to put Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
And I gave it a 3.
Okay. That's pretty low. I wanted to go that low, but Loki saved it for me a little bit.
That's why
I had to give it a 4.4. But that's like me being so generous that felt like a charity score.
And you look at it, and it's like you were saying, I think you mentioned this to me before, they actually rewrote right?
No. They rewrote everything after Loki got out.
Oh.
That's what I saw on a YouTube video, was that they wrote everything over after Loki got taken out of prison, or got out of jail. And Thor did that whole, like, sort of like Ocean's 11-y-ish.
Yeah, he had his own.
That was the best part of the movie. I know you didn't think it was like that great, but to me, that was easily one of the best parts of the movie, in an otherwise movie that is beyond below average. I don't know how you can be beyond below average, but it was trash.
And I mean, it's really weird because it sort of has this, like, interesting superstar cast. Like,
oh yeah.
And I mean, Anthony Hopkins, Natalie Portman, Idris Elba.
I can't pronounce the name for Loki. I can't pronounce it.
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston, right.
Interesting name.
Okay.
And Chris Hemsworth, I mean, prior to Thor, he maybe not necessarily the biggest actor, but he's definitely got a lot of recognition since then.
I mean, he's the only, to me, Thor lost all of his charm in this one, and Loki was the one sort of carrying that aspect of the movie.
And that's what's crazy, and I think that really what didn't hit for me in this movie is the explanation of the enemies. It was sort of loose.
Plot convenience.
Exactly.
All over the fucking place.
And it's similar to the first one where they do the exact same thing. They have this enemy that they fought generations ago.
Oh, and it's worse though.
Yeah, they explain it less.
We liked the Frost Giants.
We
didn't mind them.
No, yeah, definitely. This one was like, oh my
generic.
God.
It was Safeway Select fucking villain here.
Again, back to them wanting to be Lord of the Rings. I mean, come on.
Oh God, the whole first scene.
Yeah, the way they're talking.
The narration too. I mean, the narration was in the first one, but I mean, this one was just they were stretching everything thin.
And I don't know how many times you can do a voiceover necessarily, and I feel like Hulk 3 is going to do another one, so maybe they can get it right this next time. But other than that, like you said, Loki really saves it. He comes in. And instantly, every scene that he's specifically in becomes very relatable. And he's going through his own, business. Especially, this is after the Avengers, so he's, like, you can see in that he's losing his footing already. And even in the first Thor, he was, like, way too emotional.
Yeah.
To get his plan seen through. And then in, like I said, the Avengers, he's losing his footing and he's scared because he's being threatened. And in this one, it's like Loki comes in and he's like, compared to the other ones, man, he was a lot more spot on. He was a lot more maniacal, a lot more thought out. His reveals were better in this one.
The pacing was really shoddy.
Oh, the pacing was bad, and especially when you go from, like, the first scene where it's the, like, weird fantasy sci-fi movie.
Oh, the Graveler from Pokemon.
Yeah, dude, that screamed sci-fi original right there.
Oh, that's what I was telling you. The only way I could explain this movie is if 300 was Asgardian And it was in a sci-fi original movie.
Oh my god! And can we talk?
And now, the only reason why I say 300 is because, especially I'm assuming the Dark Elf world was literally 300. I mean, it looked exactly that same CG bullshit, brushed painted.
Yep.
Excuse me. Brush painted background, and it looks shitty. And my problem also with it was that it sort of felt like Hopkins and Helmsworth especially did not give a shit about this movie. It's like they read the script and was like, "Oh my god, guys," because those guys are good.
Yeah, and what happened to the funny, relatable Thor? Like, it just he got so sour in later movies.
I mean, but that's all. To be fair, it's also sort of his character development because he's becoming humble, quiet, reserved.
Yeah,
he's not this outlandish Asgardian goon anymore. He's not just laughing about
going out
him
fighting people.
Yeah, going around just fighting people. And the one of the bigger parts in the beginning that I was just dude, too much Darcy. I mean, she's the most annoying fucking thing about the movie.
Speaking of the human aspect of this, how forced was it that Natalie Portman got the ether?
Oh, it wasn't forced. It was completely convenient.
Yeah,
that's all it was convenience. So the one portal they find on Earth, or the whatever, I don't even want to explain it because I don't pretend to understand it. She goes right into the exact area that the ether is.
No, not only does she go into it, it pulls her to it. So it's even more and they don't say, "Oh, you were chosen." They don't bother to explain any of that. Why would the portal go right to the ether? Why her? It doesn't make any sense.
And then on top of that, with the ether, why is Thor the only one that can touch her?
Yeah, that's
it's like okay, I get the Natalie Portman shit, but they're together, or whatever. But that's not what was explained in the movie. What was explained in the movie was that the ether feels threatened, so it explodes. So why wouldn't the ether feel threatened by Thor? That doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a good question, and
it had no point.
Yeah, it didn't have a point, and it was weird because then they're just like, okay, she's got the ether in her. So what was the point of putting the ether in her when they just extract it from her to begin with? They literally pull it out of her, and that's not even when the fight ends.
And think about it, too, that he can sense it, right? The Dark Elves can sense it, but he can't sense when it's not the real Natalie Portman. He's just going to go for the fake.
And Loki, his trick is to pop out and be somewhere he's not or be someone he's not. And so it plays within his character, but exactly, if he can sense it, why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it sort of doesn't, the whole movie sort of doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And you know why? You know why it doesn't make any sense? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's a goddamn sci-fi original movie. And the dialogue has to be the most, until Loki gets out, has to be the most bland wheat toast I've ever fucking seen. I mean, the dialogue was worse than Hulk.
Oh, dude, especially the first 30, what is that, about 30, 40 minutes of it when they're doing they're fighting on the other world, and they fight the rock giant, and they free the, which mind you, they free the dude's people or whatever they did on that planet. And here's what I don't get. These dudes are all fighting, and they're fighting for a minute, right? And then they all decide.
Because they're trying to keep the realms peaceful.
No, I get that, but then... you have to imagine they're fighting in just the intro battle scene. You have to imagine they're fighting for a minute, right?
They're at a different world.
Yeah.
They're in Anaheim. They're in Vancouver and Anaheim.
Right? Or some...
And there's somehow Asians, rock people, and Asgardians all there.
Yeah, and to speak on that... It's sort of racist, right? And I mentioned this, about the first Thor, is all the Asgardians are white, and then are maybe not even white, but they all speak this, flowery Lord of the Rings speak. And then
mixture of Shakespearean Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And they went to that more in this movie than the first one. The first one was as Shakespearean as
No. But they have this Shakespearean speak, and then the one, Asian guy in it, he speaks like he's from Asia.
Yeah.
That seems sort of racist, right?
Yeah.
So, and then they're sort of explain, he's not from this world, he's from this world. But then even those people in that world, they didn't speak like that. So they really just wanted, for whatever reason, they have a thing about making people too too much of their own ethnicity. Look at the German scientists. Look at the twins even.
What did you think about the ending? Because I know we sort of were on edge about the ending because the action wasn't like necessarily bad.
No, it was. I liked the concept of it.
Yeah, well, I really liked when they're going through the portals fighting, and it really like when Thor's hammer is just traveling all over the place. Like that's cool as shit. But the problem I had with it was like, what the hell is going on with the humans? What the hell are they doing? And when they're doing it, it's still, even if you can explain it to me, it feels like plot convenience.
Yeah, and like Natalie Portman finding the portal in the cave, her cell phone.
Oh my god, the cell phone!
Dude, the whole plot was
and that was of the Dark Elves world, correct? That's what I remember, because that's when they pulled off the scene, which was, for all intents and purposes, was a good twist. But at the same time...
What twist?
When Loki and Thor went to go fight the elves.
Okay.
For the ether or whatever, to stop stop them from getting the ether.
Okay, yeah, and Loki actually, helps Thor. You think this whole time he's going to escape, and they really make you think that about Loki.
And it was also sort of a good twist when he supposedly gets killed and goes back to Odin as the guard. I mean, even though you saw that little smirk he fucking had.
And the shimmer.
It was Loki, yeah.
The Loki shimmer.
But at the end, it was well done. I think that deserved a 0.5 at the end, was that it was really Loki behind there. And how good was Thor's character development since he got Loki out to become somebody now that's thinking his way through things instead of fighting. And then at the same time, like that was the thing in the first movie, was that he just wanted to fight through everything, didn't care, didn't have he didn't empathize with anyone within the battle, nothing, right? And in this movie, he thinks his way through it instead of trying to fight through it. But Odin, when the mom gets killed, I think character development convenience.
Oh yeah. Oh,
hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get this off my chest right now. This is it was. I thought it was the actual good part of the movie.
Can you feel it down in your plums?
Yes, I can. I definitely can. And it's Odin when he reverts back to being somebody like Thor, who, remember, Thor thought in the first movie he was emulating his dad by fighting. Odin reverts back to fortifying. He's like, I'm not trying to do something smart or trying to take risks. I'm just going to sit here and fight.
If and when he comes, his men will fall on 10,000 Asgardian blades.
And how many of our men shall fall on theirs?
As many as are needed! We will fight! To the last Asgardian breath. To the last drop of Asgardian blood.
And how are you different from Malekith?
The difference, my son, is that I will win.
Yeah, when his wife dies, he definitely, and you see that Thor's like, well, shouldn't we try to figure this out?
Yeah.
And let's slow down, and his dad's like loses it.
Yeah.
And just he definitely has this huge character switch where, and they say in the previous movie, all of Odin's, he does everything for a reason, and in this you see him step away from that.
Yeah.
And actually, because of his emotional standpoint, is not thinking like Odin anymore.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting caveat to an otherwise boring movie in terms of character development, because a lot of Thor's growth happens with Loki, but other than that, there isn't really much going on for the other characters.
And you're right, it's with Loki. It's him, like when they're on the ship and they're fighting and arguing, you could tell Thor wants to beat his ass, but he holds back.
And just with Loki, that's where the best, and it must just be the interplay between the two actors, because that happens often.
And it got funny when they were together.
Yeah, exactly. How flat was him with Natalie Portman?
Oh, Natalie Portman. since the first one got even worse, and I wasn't even a fan of her in the first one.
And we call this the Convergence.
Oh yeah, and think about the like just the scene where they first meet together, because obviously at this point in the story he's not on Earth, and she doesn't really know where he's at 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So she's investigating this anomaly, and he somehow knows about it. And
Well, because of the Convergence, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, this which convenient.
yeah,
Where is the Convergence?
on Earth.
In Greenwich,
England.
Britain.
Okay, so that's
Or Greenwick.
Greenwick.
Is it Greenwick or
Who cares?
Yeah. Again, who gives a shit with this movie especially?
So yeah, and I sort of noticed that too. It's almost convenient that any of them are there, because
Yeah.
if you think about it, randomly they were there studying something. Randomly, that's where the anomaly is. Randomly, that's where Thor comes down. And randomly, is that where the what do they call it? Convergence?
Yeah.
That's where it is.
The focal point of the Convergence.
And think
I
about
liked all the Naboo Star Wars scenes too that they had
right?
in this movie.
The Convergence should have just been called the Convenience, because that's all it was.
It was, if there was 9 different realms around us that really existed, which I'm hoping do so, and Thor comes through that portal.
He's not gonna be so happy with what we're saying.
Yeah, he's gonna say you guys are assholes.
Yeah,
but I'll be an asshole. And here's the thing that we have to give credit for, which I gave a full point:
Sure.
the Captain America cameo, because Chris Evans is the greatest. Remember when Loki switches to Cap? Remember he's
That's
being different
right.
people.
And he's walking through, and it is Chris Evans. They don't use Loki's voice, which
No, I think I'm not sure if they did. I don't
no,
remember.
I think it is Chris Evans.
Was it Chris Evans' voice? Yeah.
Not Loki.
Oh no, that's what was also stupid about it. Because the other ones, he was using his voice, and then he switches to Cap's voice when it.
But can you why would you want to poke holes in that one?
Yeah.
Because it was the saving
It was the
grace.
greatest. It was the greatest. It was a great scene because Cap is the greatest.
And they've done a lot of these crossover cameos, and this
Yeah.
definitely was one of the most well acted and the most that had a point.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And here's another thing I had a problem with it too. I just wanted to speak on was the mom dying. Right? It just felt like it had to happen. Right?
I know, and
then with all the bullshit. Right? This is after Avengers 1.
yes.
So with all the bullshit, when he says that Thor came down to Earth through Odin's dark magic.
Yeah.
right?
What is that?
This bitch gets stabbed, and y'all don't got dark magic to fix a stabbing, and there is no establishment that this knife was like, the killer of Asgardians, or that like, the kind of metal or something that dark elves had would kill them automatically.
Yeah, and that's again, who knows the power of these people, because it's never established.
Yeah, it's never established.
You can't really define the Asgardians by if they're strong or if they're weak, because who knows? Because if she's married, it seems really weird. Like, she got stabbed so easily. I don't feel like that would have happened to Odin. I don't think that would have happened to Loki. I don't think that would have happened to Thor. So why her?
Because they had to develop Thor's and Loki's character.
Exactly, and so that's weird.
Convenience.
One of the best acted moments is directly after that, brought on by convenience in the movie. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, so that's why I gave it the score I did.
Me too, and there are there's definitely some saving parts to it, but I think that 3's fair.
For the most part, it was droll,
Yeah.
dry, and generic. I mean, that sums it up. So I think, if you compare it to the other ones, it was missing something bad.
Oh, it hadn't. I think it's the lack of the second enemy.
Yeah.
Because I think that really is a big thing with these Marvel movies. You see 2 or 3 nemesis, and one of them is usually a benefactor or something like that. But then the other one is actually the fighting, and this one just sort of had the dark elves. There was nothing to really tie you.
No,
to
there
it.
was what did they call those warriors?
Yeah, there was the big dark elf and the
Which
little
was also
dark
a
elf.
dumb scene. So, Asgardians have all this technology, and they're very safe. And they don't check if a guy is bleeding from his stomach.
Bro, speaking of that, how did he survive the explosion to come back?
The explosion, and then two more things about that. Another thing that they don't specify, he can just punch the jail, whatever the hell those things are, and go through one of them, but the other one he needed to hold a guy's face against it, then punch it, and then he could just go up to what the hell is that thing called? Where Idris Elba, what is his character's name?
Oh, Heimdall.
Heimdall, whatever.
Where
he is,
the
and he
Bifrost.
goes up and smashes it like it's nothing, and then just survives. Like, it doesn't, at least explain shit to me within the world. Because I don't mind sci-fi. I'm not going to hate on something for not being realistic. But at least somewhat hint, even subliminally, what each thing, what power it possesses or why that happens. Like, it could have been a two sentences to explain how those jail cells are broken. You're already putting Loki in it, so just explain it. Because to me, it just feels like, all right, dude, this is just bullshit. So I'm just going to, pretend that I'm not trying to go to sleep and watch this movie.
And just to end this one, because, we could go on for days
this
about
is
Thor.
another movie that we could just talk shit about.
Yeah, just to end this one on, a slightly good note. Speaking of the jail, I really like the scene where it shows Loki, finally let down the illusion that he's just sitting there, tweaked out.
Yeah. Well, even though he does look tweaked out.
He does look tweaked out, but he's really just losing his mind.
Yeah, because of his mom.
And that's cool.
And they established him and his mom's relationship, so it made sense.
And that she can use the magic as well, because they
Yes.
sort of say that she taught him, but they didn't show it.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
So anyways, that's
let's get this clear. You have number 13, Hulk at 2.5.
Yep.
And number 12, Thor at...
I give it a 3.
A 3, okay. I have number 13, Hulk, at a 3.5, and Thor 2 at a 4.4. So, hopefully they're not all the same. We haven't really gone over each other's lists, but
we'll see.
We'll see.
I think we know what movies we liked.
Yeah.
But I think they're on the more bland movies.